What is going on, guys? My name is Bill Mathews from the BassinBill96 YouTube channel, and in today's video we are going to be talking about jig fishing. More specifically, we're going to be talking about the 3 biggest mistakes that you can make when it comes to jig fishing. So if you guys are new to jigs, stick around, stay tuned, this is the video for you. But let's just jump into mistake number 1. Mistake number 1, the very first thing people do, they get a brand new jig. Right here we have the 𝗙𝗲𝗋𝗋𝗄𝐶ie, and they open that package up, they pull the jig out, and they're going to put a little trailer on there. They're going to tie this up, cast it out, start fishing. That's mistake number 1. You do not want to do that. Right when you open a jig out of a package, you always are going to want to make some modifications some way or another. These little 𝗙𝗲𝗋𝗋𝗄𝐶ies, they come with a pretty thick brush guard. So the first thing that I do is I cut about half of these bristles off right there. Just trim them off. You're going to get like twice as many hookups. And another thing I do too is if that brush guard's hanging over that hook just a little bit, which these ones are actually pretty good, but a lot of the brush guards you'll get on a jig, they'll be hanging out there quite a bit, and you're going to want to trim them so they just barely cover the tip of that hook point. So first thing that you do right when you buy a jig out of the box, you're going to want to make some modifications. Additionally, sometimes I'll trim the skirt a little bit, but once again, this is a finesse jig, so this one comes pretty solid out of the package. But never fish a jig straight out of the package. There's always going to be at least one modification that I make to pretty much any single jig that I fish. So that is mistake number 1. Let's jump into mistake number 2. So the second mistake that we're going to talk about is a mistake that a lot of beginners make, and as you guys can see, we have got a pretty wide variety of different jigs right here. And the mistake that we're going to talk about is throwing the right jig in the right situation. So like right here, we've got a 𝗙𝗲𝗋𝗶𝗋 𝗙𝗲𝗋 finesse jig. This is going to be an awesome jig if you're fishing for smallmouth, if you're fishing really cold water temperatures, when you really just have to downsize and throw that smaller presentation. This is going to be an awesome little tool for you. We've also got the 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹𝗶 diesel jig. This is a football jig. It's got an elongated head. Doesn't do great around grass, but this type of jig is going to be awesome around rocks, hard cover. I skip this around docks a little bit as well too, since it does have that wider head. It really kind of skips across the water really nice. But football heads are one of my favorite ones to throw. We have also got the 𝗙𝗲𝗋𝗋𝗋𝗋 Grass Hero right here. This is a swim jig, completely different. It's got more of a conical style head. This is going to come through grass really good. And this is more for covering water. If you guys are fishing a big expansive grass flat, if you want to, fish an entire lake in a short amount of time, you're casting, you're chucking, you're winding this thing, you're going to catch a lot of fish on this, moving a little bit faster, whereas these jigs, you're fishing a little bit slower and on the bottom more so. And then not pictured here, we've also got 𝗙𝗋𝗋𝗋𝗋 style heads, kind of a flipping jig, which if you're fishing super heavy cover, really gnarly docks, like laydowns, trees, anything like that, you're going to want one of those big flipping jigs. It's got a stout hook, it's got a really heavy weed guard, and you're going to be able to get that in and out of that cover very efficiently. So basically fishing the right style of jig is going to be mistake number 2. A lot of people, especially when they get into jig fishing, just don't know how many different kinds there are, and they don't know which ones to use for the right situation. But those little guidelines I just gave you should help you out a ton when you're picking your jigs. But let's jump into the last mistake. This is the most important one by far, mistake number 3. This is a mistake, once again, that a lot of beginners make, and that is simply not throwing the freaking jig. I swear, it's one of the most intimidating lures to throw. A lot of guys, they pick these up, they cast them around a little bit, they're not going to get bit. It's definitely a big bass bait. You could definitely catch some small fish on these, but like me personally, I've caught some of my biggest bass ever on jigs. My personal best actually came on a 𝗙𝗲𝗋𝗋𝗋𝗋 gridiron football jig, and it was 10.47 pounds. Like, jigs catch flat out big ones, and my advice to you guys, the biggest mistake is not throwing them. So go out there, only bring a jig with you, throw it around all day long. You pick your favorite lake, whatever lake by you has the biggest bass, throw a jig all day there, and I promise you guys, if you commit to it, you're gonna catch some big bass. So mistake number 3, it's a dumb one, kind of a trick question, but not throwing the jig. If you guys want to catch big bass, do not sleep on the jig. Football jigs, 𝗙𝗋𝗋𝗋𝗋𝗋 style jigs, finesse jigs, they're all freaking awesome big bass snatchers. But thank you guys for watching today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed, hope you guys learned something about jig fishing, and do not make those jig mistakes. But thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you guys in the next one.